36 years of marriage. And my husband's Alzheimer's only left me. But the truth. He wasn't sick at all. The first time Harold forgot my name, we were at the dinner table. He looked up from his plate, his eyes blank and searching. You? Who let you in here? His voice wasn't confused. It was sharp, accusing. Like I was an intruder. I laughed at first, a nervous, brittle sound. Harold, it's me. Evelyn, your wife. His face didn't change. I didn't know any Evelyn. But 10 minutes later, when Caleb called, his voice brightened. Son, how's the family? The doctors ran tests, scans, questions. Do you know what year it is, Harold? Who's the current president? He answered perfectly. Then they asked, and this woman beside you, who is she? His gaze slid over me like I was air. No idea. Dr. Fisher pulled me aside afterward. Sometimes, the disease takes the most recent memories first, or the most painful ones. I nodded like that made sense. But that night, as I lay beside a man who no longer knew me, I wondered. Was this really Alzheimer's? Or was it just me he wanted to forget? The first time I had to feed him, I cried in the pantry afterward. Harold had always been so particular about his food. No onions, the steak medium rare, his coffee black with exactly 1 sugar. Now he stared at the forkful of mashed potatoes I held out to him like it was poison. Open up, sweetheart, I said, my voice steady despite the ache in my wrists. He knocked the fork from my hand. Potatoes splattered across the wall. I'm not a fucking child! Spittle flew from his lips. I cleaned it up in silence. Made a new plate, tried again. By the 3rd attempt, my hands were shaking. That night, I found him standing in the kitchen at 2 a.m., eating cold spaghetti straight from the container with his fingers. He looked up, sauce smeared on his chin, and for one wild second I thought, he remembers. Then his face went blank again. Who are you? I walked away before he could see me break. The house was too quiet that Thursday afternoon. The kind of quiet that makes your skin prickle. I was folding laundry in our bedroom when I heard Harold's voice drifting up from his study. Too clear. Too coherent. I crept downstairs, my slippers silent on the hardwood. The study door was ajar. Through the crack, I saw Harold sitting upright at his desk, phone pressed to his ear. His posture was all wrong, shoulders squared, jaw set. The way he used to sit during important business calls. No, she hasn't suspected a thing, he said, voice low. A pause. Then, with perfect clarity, I just want her to ask for the divorce first. My breath caught. The basket slipped from my hands. Harold spun around, eyes wide. For one terrifying second, we stared at each other, the mask slipping. Then his face went slack again, that vacant Alzheimer's stare sliding back into place. Evelyn, he said, voice suddenly frail. Why are you? Where am I? But I'd already heard it. The name that followed mine, Vivien, like a knife twist. I found the photographs while cleaning out his old briefcase. They were tucked behind the business cards, Vivien in a sun hat, at what looked like a vineyard, Vivien laughing at some restaurant I didn't recognize, Vivien in Harold's arms at a beach at sunset. The dates on the backs went back 12 years. My hands shook as I flipped through them. 12 years. Caleb had just started high school then. I'd been nursing my mother through chemotherapy, and Harold had been. What? Taking his mistress to vineyards. The worst part. He looked happier in these photos than he ever had with me. That easy smile, the relaxed shoulders, a Harold I hadn't seen in decades. A receipt fluttered out, a jewelry store from last month. A diamond bracelet. Not for our anniversary, not for my birthday. I sat there on the bedroom floor, surrounded by the evidence of my own blindness, and realized the disease wasn't stealing his memories. He was carefully packing them away, preserving only what he wanted to keep. And I wasn't in that box. The noodles were still steaming when he knocked the bowl from my hands again. Porcelain shattered against the kitchen tiles, broth splashing up my legs. Too hot, Harold whined, his voice that infuriating mix of childish and cruel. You trying to burn me? I stared at the mess, at my reddening skin, then at him. Something in his eyes shifted, a flash of awareness. Gone before I could be sure. That's when I understood. The spilled meals. The midnight wandering. The perfectly timed confusion whenever I mentioned doctors or tests. All of it performance art. I knelt to clean the broken shards, hiding my face. My hands didn't shake this time. Let me make you another bowl, I said softly. As I stood at the stove, stirring a fresh batch, I made my decision. If he wanted out so badly, I'd give him what he wanted. Just not the way he planned. The 13th feeding that day was the breaking point. My arms trembled from exhaustion as I lifted another spoonful of oatmeal to his lips. Harold clamped his mouth shut like a petulant child, then suddenly swiped at the bowl, sending it crashing to the floor. Not hungry, he barked, though I'd seen him eyeing the clock waiting for me to leave so he could raid the fridge himself. I counted to 10 in my head, the way the dementia care pamphlets had suggested. Harold, you need to eat something. My voice sounded hollow even to me. He responded by hurling his juice glass against the wall. Purple stains bloomed across our wedding photo. The one he'd forgotten taking. As I bent to clean the shards, he smirked, just for a second. Then the vacant stare returned. That's when I noticed he never broke anything of his. Just mine, our things, the life we built together. The soup pot was still boiling when Harold erupted. One moment he was sitting quietly at the table. The next he was on his feet. Chair crashing backward. Hands sweeping across the table like a hurricane. Bowls, plates, silverware, everything went flying. Scalding hot broth splashed across my bare feet. I gasped at the sudden, searing pain. Harold froze. For one terrifying second, his mask slipped completely. I saw genuine shock in his eyes. He hadn't meant to go this far. Then the act crashed back down. Who are you? He stammered, looking around wildly. Where am I? My feet burned. My heart burned hotter. But I forced calm into my voice. It's okay, Harold. Let's get you to your chair. As I guided him away from the broken porcelain, I realized two truths. His performance was getting dangerous. He'd just given me everything I needed. The emergency room smelled like antiseptic and false concern. The young resident frowned at my burns while Harold sat in the corner, muttering incoherently. Does this happen often? The doctor asked quietly. Before I could answer, Harold lurched to his feet. She's poisoning me! Spittle flew from his lips. Check my blood? Test the food? The nurse exchanged glances with the doctor. I saw the unspoken verdict in their eyes. Another Alzheimer's patient spiraling. But then Harold slipped. As they led him away for evaluation, he turned back and snapped, Evelyn. Tell them, then caught himself. That split second of clarity. The perfect use of my name. The doctor missed it. The nurse missed it. I didn't. In that moment, the last fragile thread of doubt within me snapped. This wasn't illness. This was war. Alzheimer steals in stages, the pamphlets said. First recent memories, then older ones. Names fade, faces blur. But Harold's theft was surgical. Precise. He remembered how to use the remote control but forgot where we kept the coffee mugs after 30 years. Could recite our son's phone number perfectly, but screamed when I tried to hold his hand. Dr. Fisher called it selective preservation. I called it betrayal. The cruelest part. He still reached for me in the night sometimes. Half asleep, his hands would find mine. His breathing would slow. Then morning would come, and his eyes would go cold again. Who are you? Get out of my house. I started sleeping with a voice recorder under my pillow. Waiting, watching. The disease wasn't stealing his memories, he was. The burns on my feet still throbbed as I tucked Harold into bed that night. He smiled up at me, sweet, vacant, the perfect picture of confused innocence. You nice, he slurred, playing the feeble old man. Not like that other woman. I froze. What other woman, Harold? His eyes darted away. The angry one. The wife. A pause. You're much prettier. My stomach turned. He was enjoying this, savoring each twist of the knife. I forced a smile. Sleep well, Harold. Downstairs, I poured a whiskey and played back the voice recorder from last night. There it was, 2017 AM. Harold's voice, clear as day on the phone. Just a few more weeks, Viv. She's cracking. I can see it. The glass shattered in my hand. Blood mixed with whiskey on the counter. The performance would end soon. But not the way he planned. The morning it all unraveled began like any other. I brought Harold his coffee. Black, 1 sugar. The way he'd taken it for 36 years. He stared at the cup like it contained acid. Who are you? His voice was sharp, all pretense of confusion gone. Why do you keep coming into my house? I set the coffee down slowly. It's our house, Harold. We've lived here 22 years. his face twisted. Bullshit, he stood abruptly, knocking over the cup. Where's Vivien? What did you do with her? There it was, the mask fully off. I reached into my pocket and pressed record on my phone. Who's Vivien, Harold? His face went pale. He realized his mistake too late. The game was over. Caleb arrived within the hour, his face unreadable. Harold transformed instantly, smiling, coherent, embracing his son with perfect recognition. Dad's doing great today, Caleb said pointedly, avoiding my eyes. Then Harold dropped his voice to a stage whispers. Who is this woman, Caleb? She won tea. Leave me alone. I watched our son's face carefully. No surprise, no confusion, just discomfort. That's when I knew. You're in on this, I said quietly. Caleb couldn't meet my gaze. Mom, you need to understand. The pieces clicked into place. My own son, helping his father pretend, for money, for approval, it didn't matter. I turned to Harold, my voice steady. You want a divorce? You'll get one. But not before everyone knew the truth. Dieter Fischer's office smelled like sterile regret. Harold sat perfectly composed, acing every cognitive test, while I sat with my recording clenched in my fist. Remarkable, the doctor mused, flipping through charts. Most patients show more pronounced. Play it, I interrupted, thrusting my phone forward. The recording crackled to life. Harold's midnight confession filled the room, his face drained of color. Dieter Fischer's pen froze mid-note. The air thickened. I see, he said finally, removing his glasses. Mr. Williamson, perhaps we should. Harold stood abruptly. This is private family business. His voice had never been clearer. The doctor looked between us, understanding dawning. Alzheimer's patients don't recover during arguments, Mr. Williamson. The game was up. The truth laid bare. And for the first time in months, Harold looked at me with perfect, terrified recognition. The Facebook post went live at 9:15 p.m. I attached 3 things. The recording of Harold's midnight confession, photos of Vivien from his briefcase, a screenshot of Caleb's text. Just play along with Dad a little longer. By morning, it had been shared 427 times. Harold's phone exploded with calls, old friends, relatives, his golf buddies. Vivien's profile went private. Caleb sent 17 missed calls. I sat in the kitchen, sipping tea, watching the chaos unfold. Harold stormed in, face purple with rage. You bitch! Spittle flew from his lips. Take it down. I smiled. Why, Harold? Don't you remember? You have Alzheimer's. His hand twitched like he wanted to hit me. Then he froze, realizing the cameras I'd installed were blinking quietly in every corner. The whole world was watching now. The winter air cut like glass when Harold shoved me out the back door. Barefoot, wearing only my nightgown, I stumbled into the snow. The security light flickered on, illuminating his face. Twisted with rage, not confusion. Stay out here until you freeze, you vindictive cunt. He spat before slamming the door. My feet burned against the frozen pavement. I pounded on the door, my breath coming in white puffs. Harold, let me in. But the house stayed dark. Then, headlights. Ella, the night security guard, pulled up in her patrol car. She took one look at me, trembling and blue-lipped, and marched to the front door. When Harold answered, she didn't hesitate. A real man doesn't throw his wife into the snow. He blinked, the act faltering. She's lying. Ella cut him off. I have cameras, Harold. I saw everything. She wrapped me in a blanket and drove me to a hotel. That night, I realized something. The world was finally seeing what I had. The hotel room smelled of cheap air freshener and stale coffee. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my phone blowing up with notifications. The post had gone viral overnight. At 3:17 am, a new message popped up from Vivien's sister. He did the same thing to his first wife. Attached were divorce papers from 1985 sealed for privacy. Harold Williamson. Reason for dissolution: irreconcilable differences. My hands shook as I read the details. The same pattern. The same gaslighting. The same sudden mental decline when she demanded answers. I scrolled further, a news clipping. The first wife had died in a car accident 6 months after their divorce. Single vehicle, no witnesses. The pieces clicked together with terrifying clarity. Harold wasn't just trying to escape our marriage. He was trying to escape me. Dawn found me in the hotel's business center, printing every document I could find. The hum of the printer matched the adrenaline in my veins. Police reports. Obituaries. A life insurance policy taken out in my name last year, with Harold as beneficiary. The receptionist knocked, handing me a manila envelope left at the front desk. Inside, a key and an address scribbled in Ella's handwriting. Safe house, 24/7 patrol. Don't tell anyone. I packed my things in silence. No note for Caleb, no goodbye to Harold, just the click of the hotel door locking behind me. As the taxi pulled away, I finally understood this wasn't about saving my marriage. It was about saving my life. The safe house was a small, unremarkable apartment above a laundromat. Ella met me at the door, her expression grim. "He's looking for you," she said, handing me a burner phone. "Caleb's been calling everyone, saying you're having a mental breakdown." I laughed. A sharp, hollow sound. "Of course he is." Ella showed me the security feeds on her laptop. Harold's car had been circling the neighborhood, his face tense in the grainy footage. No confusion now. No pretense. Just cold, focused determination. "You can't stay here forever," Ella warned. I glanced at the documents spread across the table. Divorce papers, Harold's insurance policy, the police report from his first wife's accident. "I won't have to," I said. The private investigator's report arrived at 3 a.m. I spread the documents across the kitchen table. Photos, bank records. A coroner's note scribbled in the margins. Subject's vehicle brakes showed signs of tampering. My coffee went cold as I traced Harold's financial records. 3 large withdrawals before his first wife's death. 2 payments to a mechanic whose shop closed abruptly after the accident. Then I found it. A life insurance policy nearly identical to mine, paid out in full to Harold Williamson, grieving widower. The dates lined up perfectly. Their divorce finalized June 14th, her death December 23rd. Just before the policy's contestability period ended. I reached for the burner phone, my fingers steady for the first time in months. It was time to stop running, time to start hunting. I sent the text at exactly 8:15 p.m. "I'm done fighting. Meet me at the lake house tomorrow. Bring the divorce papers." Harold responded immediately, finally seeing reason. Noon, no confusion, no hesitation, just eagerness. Ella helped me set up the cameras, small, hidden things that would stream everything live to her security firm's server. "You sure about this?" she asked. Tightening the mic under my collar, I slid the brake fluid receipt from 1985 into my pocket. The one with Harold's signature. He's had 36 years to come clean. The lake house was quiet when I arrived, too quiet. Harold's car was already there. But so was Vivien's. The door creaked when I entered. Harold stood by the fireplace, divorce papers in hand. Vivien perched on the armchair, her smile sharp as broken glass. "Took you long enough," she said. Harold didn't bother with the Alzheimer's act now. His voice was crisp, commanding. "Sign. Don't make this difficult." I set my bag down slowly. "Like you made it difficult for Linda." His face went slack. "What did you say?" I pulled out the mechanic's invoice. "Brake lines don't cut themselves, Harold." Vivien stood abruptly. "What is she talking about?" I smiled. "Ask him what happened to his first wife. Or better yet." I tapped my phone. "Ask the police." Sirens wailed in the distance. Harold's hands began to shake. The sirens grew louder. Harold's eyes darted to the door, then back to me. Vivien took a step away from him, her face pale. "You told me she died in an accident," she whispered. Harold's voice cracked. "She did! Evelyn's lying." I hit play on my phone. The mechanic's recorded testimony filled the room. He paid me cash to cut the lines, said it would look like wear and tear. Vivien backed toward the door. "Oh my God." Harold lunged, not at me but at her. "You don't understand. She was going to ruin me." Tires crunched on gravel outside. Red and blue lights flashed through the curtains. I stood perfectly still. "No, Harold. You ruined yourself." The police entered with guns drawn. Harold froze, his hands still gripping Vivien's arms. She wrenched free, her designer heels clicking across the hardwood as she fled to the officers. "He's dangerous," she gasped. "He killed his first wife." Harold's face twisted in betrayal. "You bitch! You were in on this!" He turned to me, eyes wild. "This was your plan all along!" Detective Ruse stepped forward. "Harold Williamson, you're under arrest for the murder of Linda Williamson." The cuffs clicked shut. As they led him away, he screamed over his shoulder, "You'll pay for this, Evelyn! You hear me? You'll pay?" I met his rage with silence. The recording was still running. And so was I. Caleb showed up at my door 3 days later, hollow-eyed and unshaven. "Did you know?" I asked before he could speak. He collapsed into a chair, hands shaking. Not about Mom. Just about Vivien. The admission hung between us like a corpse. My own son. Helping his father destroy me to inherit quicker. "He told me you were unstable," Caleb whispered, "that you'd de-waste your half." I slid a check across the table. "His inheritance. Early, get out." As the door closed behind him, I realized some betrayals cut deeper than others, and some wounds never fully heal. The courtroom smelled of lemon polish and lies. Harold sat slumped at the defendant's table, orange jumpsuit hanging loose on his frame. The Alzheimer's act was gone. Replaced by the dull stare of a trapped animal. When the judge finalized the divorce, he didn't react. But when she awarded me the house, the investments, everything, his face twisted into something unrecognizable. "You won't live long enough to enjoy it," he hissed as guards led him away. The threat should have chilled me. Instead, I felt lighter than I had in years. As I stepped into the sunlight, a text buzzed on my phone. From the prosecutor, "Charges upgraded to capital murder. He'll never see daylight again." I deleted it without replying. Some victories done need celebration. The first morning in my empty house, I woke to silence. No Harold screaming, no dishes breaking, just sunlight streaming through curtains I'd chosen myself. I poured coffee into my favorite mug, the one Harold always said was too garish, and drank it slowly at the kitchen table. No rush, no walking on eggshells. Then I did something radical. I laughed. The sound echoed through the rooms, bouncing off walls that no longer felt like a prison. Somewhere, Harold was rotting in a cell. And I was finally free. Eleanor showed up on my porch with a bottle of wine and a stack of vinyl records. "Heard you might need these," she said, grinning. I hadn't seen her since high school. The wild-haired pianist who left town decades ago. Now she wore paint-splattered jeans and a knowing look. "You followed the whole mess?" I asked, stepping aside. She snorted. "Honey, the whole country did." As Billie Holiday crooned from the speakers, Eleanor raised her glass to fresh starts. I clinked mine against it. For the first time in years, it wasn't a lie. The first hate message arrived at midnight, "Gold-digging whore." Then dozens more, anonymous accounts claiming I'd faked evidence. That I'd driven Harold to it. That I was just after his money. Eleanor slammed her laptop shut. "This is Vivien's doing." She was right. The EP addresses traced back to Harold's old neighborhood. To Vivien's apartment. So I fought back. With receipts, with court documents, with the mechanic's sworn confession. Post by post, the tide turned. By week's end, Vivien's profile disappeared entirely. Eleanor grinned. "Karma's a bitch." I poured us more wine. Some battles were worth fighting. The documentary crew showed up unannounced. "We want to tell your story," the producer said. "The truth this time." I almost refused. Then I saw the file in her hands. Footage of Vivien at Harold's trial, rolling her eyes when the judge read the verdict. So I let them in. Camera lights burned as I walked them through everything: the fake Alzheimer's, the hidden affairs. The brake fluid receipt that sealed Harold's fate. When it aired, the title card simply read "Gaslight, a survival story." Harold's appeals were denied the following week. Justice, it turned out, had perfect timing. The prison chaplain's call came on a Tuesday. "Harold's exhibiting real cognitive decline now," he said. "Genuine Alzheimer's, the doctors say." I sipped my tea, watching sparrows dance on the bird feeder Eleanor had installed. "Does he remember?" I asked. "Any of it?" A pause. "Only flashes. Mostly he asks for, well, for you." I set the cup down carefully. "Tell him I don't recall." The click of the phone echoed through my sunlit kitchen. Some ironies were too perfect to ruin. I sold the house. Let the realtors haggle over the price. I was already packing for Italy. Eleanor had convinced me to join her artist retreat in Tuscany. "You've spent enough time in prisons," she said. "Time to live in vineyards." The morning of my flight, a letter arrived. Harold's shaky scrawl on the envelope. I dropped it, unopened, into the trash. At the airport, security flagged my bag. "Ma'am, is this yours?" The agent held up a small bottle, my old brake fluid receipt tucked inside. I smiled. Not anymore. The past stayed where it belonged. The prison warden's call came through as I was boarding. He is deteriorating fast, he said. Keeps begging to see you one last time. Outside the plane window, clouds stretched endlessly. Does he remember what he did? I asked. No. Just keeps saying tell Evelyn I'm sorry over and over. The flight attendant handed me a champagne flute. Then let him die sorry, I said, and hung up. As the plane lifted off, I toasted the horizon. Some apologies came too late, and some forgiveness was never earned. Caleb stood on my Florence terrace 6 months later, holding a peace offering. My granddaughter's crayon drawing. I was wrong, he said, voice cracking. About everything. I studied the drawing, a stick figure family with me at the center. Why now? He looked at the vineyard below. Dad tried to hit a guard last week. Thought it was you. His hands shook. The man I helped destroy you was never really my father. I took the drawing, but not his guilt. Some bridges stayed burned. The prison chaplain emailed as I was packing to leave Florence, Harold's final days. He keeps calling for you. Attached was a photo. A withered old man staring blankly at a wall. I barely recognized him. Eleanor peered over my shoulder. You going? I deleted the email. He died for me years ago. That night, I dreamt of brake fluid and wedding vows. I woke to sunlight and birdsong. And felt nothing at all. I stood on Eleanor's terrace as the sun crested the Tuscan hills, painting the vineyards gold. A new passport sat heavy in my pocket. Issued under my maiden name. The phone rang. Caleb. Again. I let it go to voicemail. Eleanor handed me a coffee, steam curling into the morning air. Where to next? I smiled, sipping the rich Italian roast. Wherever we want. Somewhere, a prison bell tolled. But here there was only light,